Right then, it's been a long time coming, but this is another customer car video, something a little bit different. We've done some SQ7 stuff already. This is an SQ8, which is just an SQ7 reimagined. So it's still got the 4 litre V8 twin turbo, which has got the hot V, so the turbos are on the top, not on the sides like the old engines. And it's got the 48 volt system, which does a little supercharger, which in my opinion does nothing. And then that works on the anti-roll bars to make them stiffer and all that sort of stuff, and it uses that as the alternator and the starter motor, I believe anyway, I can't remember exactly. But anyway, loads of self-study programs. If you want to look into nerdy bits, we'll put a link to one of them into this engine, into the video. Pretty interesting stuff. So this is John's SQ8. You might remember John from when we did his Porsche Cayenne, did loads of stuff to that. That was 440 horsepower, 750 pounds-feet of torque. Pretty good, happy with that. But he's upgrading to this now. He's gone the same way, he's put all the lights on the front and the laser lights behind the grille and all that sort of stuff. I think this is a stealth, drive as fast as you can across Ireland sort of car. I've literally just driven this. I've done 30 mile an hour all the way here, and it's average 32 mile per gallon, which I think for a big bus is not too bad. But anyway, it's not here for us to talk about its fuel economy and stuff like that. So this is what we've been doing to it. So standard, they do 438 on our dyno, which 435 is what they're meant to be doing. Now we've got 509 out of it, which very happy with that. I'd like to have got more torque at the bottom, but as you can see with this dip, it's really pronounced standard, and it's just sort of the same tuned. Ignore this bit, that's probably a bit of wheel spin and stuff that we couldn't dial out on the dyno, but it made no difference. So we're just about at the similar torque, probably a few pounds-feet less than the old 4.2 engine, but that had some tiny little turbos that then were strangled at the top. You can see the gains on this are all right at the top. Still maybe a little bit of a margin. At the minute, this has just had a freshly regen DPF, and the EGTs have dropped quite considerably, but when we were tuning this on the dyno, the EGTs were quite high and they're as high as we wanted them to be. So it's one of them things, do we, so now it's freshly regen, do we tune it and let it go more, but then we're going to probably start dropping to 1000 centigrade EGTs, which that starts to melt stuff. So I think Matisse has made the right choice in leaving that where it is. Few people, when we put the graph up on Facebook, saying we thought you'd have got more, blah blah blah, all this sort of stuff, but the newer these cars are getting, the more all this stuff is stretched from the factory, because they really want everything to run hot for the DPF to be regenning passively rather than having to do an active regen, which then lowers your fuel economy and stuff like that. So what they do with these, they just make them run really hot, so when you give it a fistful, then you start regenning the DPF rather than sutting it up even more. So anyway, I think everybody wants us to go out and have a drive in it and see what's what. Quite an expensive car this, so we need to make sure we look after it, but John has asked us to see what sort of 0 to 60 times that we can get and stuff like that, so we have his permission, we'll do what he wants. So what I thought about it when I was driving it, very, very nice, but you'd want it to be very nice, because this one, not exact sure on this model, this exact spec, because with Audi it can cost whatever you want it to cost, same as a Porsche and Beams and what have you, but they're about 105 grand new. This is probably, it's a 2020, it's done a few miles, I don't know, not loads of miles, but this is probably still 80 to 90 grand worth of car, so it wants to be nice. Alcantara everywhere, carbon fibre, nice leather, which Audi's always got nice leather, even your old A3's got nice leather in the leather dash. It's got absolutely everything, so it is nice. It is nice. Obviously, it said earlier, 29 to 32 mile per gallon or something like that. That's what this has sort of been doing. So it's not too bad, nipping about. Obviously, you'd want more if you're in your 2 litre hatchback, but people that spend this sort of money on a big 4 litre V8 diesel are expecting them sort of economy figures. But it must be said that that's not really much better than the old V10 when that had road tyres on and drove it hard. I drove this, you're probably doing 27s, 28, so it's not night and day difference. So as standard, this has got more torque than the V8 turbo petrol one, and now with a tune it's got more power as well, so we're 1000 newton meters of torque at least now. The standard petrol one's only got 770 and 500 horsepower, and we're above that now, so it's pretty good. I don't think all the gains in a car like this, we say it a lot with a lot of the cars that we do, but when you're only giving a car that's already got a lot of power, a bit of power, the gains are not going to be astronomical 0 to 60, because that's more of a traction and deployment sort of situation. Your car don't get any lighter, it ain't really going to get much faster 0 to 60, but improve a little bit. Definitely feel like we're not getting everything until it's doing about 50 mile an hour, then it really starts going, so there's definitely something there to improve. But like I said before, that's not the main thing we're trying to improve with these. The in-gear acceleration is what most people use. It's not, I don't know about everyone as customers, but I know how I drive, and you're not always sat at a traffic light Grand Prix going for full boosted launch every time. That doesn't usually happen. You're generally cruising along at 30 mile an hour, like right now, and then you hit it and you want to go. I always think the same in these big rigs as well. You sort of got to get on the power a bit earlier than you want to do, especially if you're in the wrong gear, because it kicks down 2 gears and then you're waiting a little bit. Even though the gearboxes are absolutely ridiculously fast at changing, you're still waiting. But this, even in something as quiet and composed as a 2.5 ton thing here, you feel the speed. So that's more like it. You've got to stamp as hard as you can on brakes, as hard as you can on throttle, and you've probably, light's already gone to green, then you set off, you get a 4.15, so pretty good, happy with that. So more of an improvement than I expected, but not easy to get it, which usually in these sort of cars, first launch it's as good as it's going to be, and then you just keep chasing it after that. So very happy with that. So we'll try get a little bit more sort of in gear stuff. Might put it into manual for that and just see what the torque delivery is like. Because when you're driving it like that and just tipping in it normally, you never feel any of them dips. So 4th gear, 30 mile an hour, which is 1500 RPM or so. Stamp it, big surge, and then it gets going even more. And it's the higher speeds that seem to, you feel the extra power more, which for everybody's driving licence is going to be a shame. But yeah, I think that's why Teslas took off so well, because everybody drives like absolute nutters and brake at 59 mile an hour and you're alright. But yeah, really, really quick. Just keeps surging, the power just keeps going and going and going. This engine is really good. The 48 volt system, I don't know how it's marketed as such and pay attention to that sort of thing, but I'm pretty sure it's doing absolutely nothing here. You can see it on the logs when it goes up to like a bar of boost, or it's requesting a bar of boost from it. But these turbos are fairly small. They've got, the dip is the changeover from it only running on half of the exhaust ports onto all 8 of the exhaust ports, or 16 should I say. So 8 each turbo. So that is where the sort of dip comes from. It's sort of like a rudimentary variable turbo, but the 48 volt system just seems complicated. Everybody always goes on about the R8 project that we did the April Fools on, when we said we're going to put a 1.9 engine in. But I think this engine is the one to have in something like that, because it's a nice tight package because the turbos are in the middle. It just does limit the upgrade path, but I'm sure there's an upgrade path on these. But yeah, really good engine. I think the noise coming from the exhaust is not the engine, but it's a V8, so if you open it up, it will sound reasonably okay if the turbos are a bit bigger and what have you. So yeah, R8 with this engine in, could it happen? Don't know. Maybe a bit too expensive of a project, but that would be good. If somebody wants us to build that for them, you've got a blank checkbook, no problem, bottomless pit of money, keep shoveling it in, we'll build it for you, and I'll happily drive it on track if you want. But yeah, this car, really nice. Like I said earlier, it wants to be for the money, really quick. If the only reason why you're buying a car is to go fast, there's definitely better cars to buy, because there's faster cars that cost a lot less money than this. But I'm assuming if you want to stick a tow bar on, the only thing that would top this for a tow vehicle would be the Bentley Bentegas that we keep seeing everybody at the track towing the fancy Porsches and stuff like that. But yeah, this will do a bit of everything. Like, I had a quick look at some reviews that people have said, and it's this is sort of an in-between if you're wanting sort of an Audi RS 4, 6 or whatever, and a Q7 practicality wise. This is something in between. Not got the 7 seats that the SQ7's got, but it is a nice car. And although people go on about if you've got this sort of money you can afford a petrol, but when a petrol's going to use probably twice, if not 3 times more fuel when you're giving it a bit, then which is the best vehicle to have? I don't know. But as with all these SUVs and stuff, a lot of the manufacturers didn't think that they'd ever take off at all, and I'm sure SUVs are the biggest selling market for most manufacturers. They never see off-road, you know, we're not using them like we use our Touareg. So anyway, boring test drive over. Obviously, if you want to see how fast stuff can go, then you have to watch us when we're on track, because we don't like to go crazy on the roads. We drive how we'd expect other people to drive. But yeah, happy with this, happy with how it goes. Credit to Matisse for his tuning work, because it was a lot of work. Rob told John that we could turn it around in a week, and it's been a week's worth of work. So yeah, nothing lined up to the SQ7s that we've done. We knew we wanted to push them, but we had to completely go from scratch. Gearbox tuning, not easy either. So yeah, we'll get this handed over to the transport guy as soon as possible and send it on its way to Ireland.